In order to be prepared for higher education, we need to take a glimpse into the world through the eyes of those living it. Hi, I'm your host, Ashreya Sirivol. I have questions about the future, which is why I am going to deep dive into the journeys of college students and graduates, exploring the majors and paths they've chosen. Welcome to Scholar Stories, the podcast, where we bring you practical advice and inspiring stories. Today, we're joined by Katilyn Huynh, an incoming freshman at Villanova University and partaking in a 7-year BS and DMD program with the University of Pennsylvania School of Dental Medicine. As a recent graduate of Notre Dame High School in San Jose, California, Katilyn has a diverse set of activities and talents, from leadership and service to the arts and research. I'm excited to explore her journey and hear how she pursued her passions and what has fueled her success. Join me in welcoming Katilyn. So to start off, can you talk a little bit about your BS and DMD program with Villanova and UPenn? I know it's super selective, and was there a separate application for this?
So the 7-year BS DMD program is a dual degree pathway where I complete 3 years of undergraduate study, followed by 4 years at Penn Dental. And basically, to remain in the program, students usually just have to meet the academic requirements for this specific program. And I think Penn says it's a GPA of 3.5 and a DAT score of at least 20. But the benchmarks are honestly very manageable, so they're just in place to kind of ensure students are staying on track academically. And then this year, 17 students were accepted into the program around the world. So I know a student from Canada and then South Korea. My roommate is from South Korea doing the program as well. And UPenn basically partners with 4 different undergraduate institutions, and each kind of have a different set of seats, but overall through the 4 affiliate schools, they're just trying to aim for 10 to 15 students that actually commit and go through with the program. And then not all accepted students actually follow through with the program. Some may not meet the academic benchmarks, or also financial considerations can play a role. And then for your second question about the separate application, there is actually a full portal that Penn has. So I first had to get into Nova, and then Nova had to kind of accept me to move forward to Penn. And so once they moved me forward, I completed a full portal for Penn with all my ECs, my GPA, my SAT and ACT score, and also I had to indicate whether I had family members in dentistry, and I think that can really show how committed you are. So I had 4 family members that I inputted, and then I also wrote 3 supplemental essays just for Penn. So yeah, that's kind of a brief overview of the whole program.
Yeah, that application process seems super rigorous, but it's nice that you are able to find the requirements now manageable. And I just wanted to ask, you mentioned DATs, so is it like an entrance exam? Or?
Yeah, so it's the dental admission test. So it's kind of like the MCAT, but specifically for dental students. And it used to be on a scale of 30, so 20 is kind of the national average. The fact that they kind of set it around 20 is really manageable.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And speaking of applying to other schools, what made you choose this specific program over other colleges you've gotten into?
For my specific application process, I was shooting for a lot of accelerated programs, so like BS MD, BS DMD, DDS, or just accelerated dentistry programs. So my top kind of 3 choices I was debating between was University of the Pacific's 3+3 accelerated dentistry program, and then I got into most of the UCs, but I got into UC Berkeley for molecular and cellular biology. And I decided to go with my BSDMD program because it provided a lot of clarity and alignment with my long-term goals. So basically, if I meet those benchmarks, I have a dental school that I can go into. For University of the Pacific, while the accelerated timeline is pretty appealing, recently there's kind of been an over-acceptance of pre-dental students into the program, whereas Dugoni, the dental school, only has around I think 150 seats, and they do take students not from the undergrad, but I think the acceptance rate recently has been around 300 students actually committing to the program. So even though you're guaranteed an interview, admission to the dental school isn't guaranteed. So for my program that I ended up choosing, the pre-dental cohort is pretty small on campus. So I don't have the stress of competing against 300 pre-dental students. And then also, more importantly, there's that strong sense of stability. So I have that clearer pathway to Penn Dental regardless of how competitive and unpredictable the undergraduate experience may be.
Yeah, you got into a bunch of great schools.
Thank you.
UPenn, of course, has the set dental path, so I'm sure it'll be great. You were the co-founder and product manager of Smile Bright. Can you talk a little bit about it and what inspired you to start this service organization and some of the biggest challenges or lessons you learned while leading this?
Yeah, so I co-founded Smile Bright about a year ago, and I'm the manager of this whole project with the two other co-founders. And we just had a goal of expanding access to dental education and resources in underserved communities. So, as the project manager, I help shape what the organization does, and I oversee the development of programs like oral hygiene workshops, school and dental clinic partnerships, and also dental care kit distribution. Our idea was kind of born out of a mix of privilege and purpose. So I grew up in a family of dentists, so oral health was never something I had to think twice about, so I always had toothbrushes, fluoride, regular cleanings, and with that, I never got any cavities or anything because I was educated on how to keep my oral health in good condition. But the more I got involved in service, the more I saw that that level of access is not the norm, especially because my dad practices in Hayward. Also, at the same time, I've always been someone who really connects with the world through my hands. So through dancing or graphic design, which I do at FCSN, which is an organization in Fremont, and eventually dentistry, I think there's a kind of artistry in making people feel confident through their smiles. And Smile Bright became that way to channel my passion into something real. And so one of the biggest challenges, I think, was learning how to grow our nonprofit from really the bottom line. So, making those connections, partnering with dentists, and also we were able to partner with a university in China. So that kind of allowed us to get access to the rural areas in China and try to make that impact in that area.
Yeah, that's so sweet how you were able to take your passions from your family of dentists and make it into this amazing project which has an amazing mission. You also partook in many other research internships and initiatives like at Polygence, ASDRP, El Camino Health, and Stanford. Were there any specific ways you applied for these research opportunities, and would you recommend other high school students to look for opportunities like these too?
I think that if you want to apply as a biology major or get into healthcare, I think research is really important. And I think that really helped me maybe get into Berkeley for my major, which was really competitive. And so I think if you are interested in med or dentistry, getting involved in research and independent research, and also getting that shadowing and getting into the hospital is really important. And so I think ASDRP is pretty time consuming, but if you can publish, that looks really good. And then at El Camino, I was a medical surgical orthopedic assistant. That's very big. But I essentially, I take care of the med surg unit and the orthopedic unit alongside with nurses. And then I think applying to my BSDMD programs, I think Polygence really stood out maybe on my applications. So it was an independent research program, and I dove into robotic assisted implantology, which is kind of a pretty novel topic in dentistry. It was a 20-page paper that I wrote on my own with the help of a dentist who kind of guided me through the process. And then last thing, for Stanford summer programs, I think these programs are good, but I think they're very expensive, and sometimes I feel like in terms of the academic return, it may not be that worth it, but I think the experience was really rewarding because I met a lot of international students, and I still keep in touch with them to this day. So I think that if you're looking for the experience, that's really good. But I think in terms of summer programs, you really have to do your research and what you're getting into, especially like free research programs. I think those are great, like GRIPS or other types at Stanford. I think those are great. But I think some of them can be quite pricey for what you get in return.
Yeah, like taking account of the costs really is important. And it's nice that all of these research opportunities made you comfortable around clinical settings. So that's really cool. You have a bunch of different activities that you did throughout your 4 years of high school. So was there anything that helped you stay excited and committed to your different activities?
I was really busy. My schedule was always really packed. And I think what kind of helped me get through it and like stay excited about everything and also prevent me from getting burnt out was having the activities where I could release myself in, and I think that was competitive dancing. So even though I spent around probably 15 to 20 hours a week, I think maybe 15 hours a week on dancing, wow. I think that was my way to like not get burnt out with all my other extracurriculars, you know. I was a commissioner, all of the shadowing and service. I think throughout my 4 years of high school, I did around 600 hours of service. So there's just a lot of things, but definitely having hobbies that don't stress you out that much and are just a release can really keep you and prevent you from burning out.
Yeah, it's good to have something to rely on, and it's so nice that for you it was dance. And 600 hours of service was a lot. That's super cool. So you have a super impressive resume from your competitive dancing to civic engagement in Fremont and well-rounded research. How did you connect all of your activities and accomplishments into one cohesive story or essay to present on your college application?
So again, I did have a lot of extracurriculars, and I think the key to like having a cohesive story is kind of just understanding why you got into that activity before you connect them all. So for me, when I stepped back, I feel like the key central ideas that tied everything that I did was, you know, my passion for healthcare, my commitment to service, and then my love for using my hands. And that can be in like the studio, in the lab, or the clinic. So I kind of connected those three ideas through my whole entire application. And then I also brought in other ideas. When I was younger, I had a speech impediment, and, you know, overcoming that was really challenging, and getting into leadership roles helped me overcome it. But I did a lot of service work at FCSN, which is the Friends of Children with Special Needs. So giving back to that community. So that was another story part of my application. So I had a lot of different little stories and reasons for why I was doing it, but it all connected to those three central ideas, which I think you just kind of had to step back and like connect it all. And then I also had a college counselor, which helped me see that big picture. And so I didn't have to force everything to fit perfectly, but you can like refine and tweak your ECs to reflect the type of student and like the future provider that I wanted to come off as, essentially.
Yeah, understanding the why really is important. And you mentioned you have a college counselor. So was the college counselor helpful, and was there like any process to get one?
I think it's good. Like, you have to be kind of careful with college counselors. For me, my college counselor pushed me to do more extracurriculars. I was passionate about it and I would bring it up to her, but she would push me to follow through with it. So she pushed me to do independent research, which I wasn't really aware of. And I think that helped me stand out for the program that I got into. But I think the thing to be careful about is to not let your college counselor kind of like overstep in a way. I feel like nowadays your ECs speak for itself, and I think your essays have to show that personality. My college counselor really liked a clean writing style, so she kind of cut out a bit of personality, and I feel that's like kind of what sets you apart from like the 100,000 applicants. In the end, you are the person that knows yourself the best, essentially. So just use them as a tool to make your writing a little better. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like, use them as a supplement rather than them writing your story.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, yeah. So, speaking of this, how far ahead of time did you start working on your college applications, and do you think you gave yourself enough time?
Yeah. I think I started kind of late. I got my final college list around August, which is very late. I was pushing it back. I don't know. I just didn't want to get into the process. So I feel like if I would go back, I would definitely start earlier. Like at least get my college list by the end of junior year, because that's what most people do.
Yeah.
And every weekend I would work on my essays, and I kind of just did that for like maybe 2 or 3 months straight. And so I think if you can start earlier, you should. And everyone gives that as an advice, but students never really take it. And I think that like if you don't start early, at least have your college list set. And I think be open to knowing that if you apply for such competitive programs like a BSMD program, like you have to know that's like a 1% acceptance rate. So you have to like apply to schools a little lower than that. And I wish I kept a more open mind. Because those BSMD applications are so time consuming, I didn't have the time to write other essays for other schools. So if I were to go back, maybe I would apply to Emory or Northwestern and those types of schools.
Yeah, you still got into an amazing program though.
Definitely, like there is luck into it. That was like the one program and it's very good, but definitely BSMD is very tough.
Yeah. That makes sense. Like once you're in the process, it's hard to get out until you're done. So while applying, did you apply to any colleges with early action, early decision, and like binding and non-binding or regular decisions?
The thing with some of my programs is that you apply early action to this school, so then you get considered for like the program. I know that can be like an exception for some early decision, but I didn't do any early decision. And so I did REA. I REA'd to Stanford and I got deferred. And I think from Notre Dame, I think 6 or 7 people REA'd and I think they all got rejected and I got deferred. And so when I got deferred, I did 4 more supplemental essays, which were very short. They're like 150 words. And I ended up not getting in. And I think that I just could have wrote better essays. My essays were very structured around dentistry. And I feel like that may have not made me seem like as curious as I am. But I think that having that really dentistry-specific essays fit me well for like BS DMD because they know that you're committed to the program. And then also, I feel like my college counselor kind of took away just a bit of personality from my essays. So again, if I could go back, there's so many things that I would change, but I don't regret how it turned out because this program lets me graduate early by 1 year and that saves money and then I could go into dental school. So I'm actually happy with how it turned out. But yeah, so that was my one REA. And when you REA, you can't early action anywhere else unless there's like a scholarship money where you have to apply EA or these BS DMD programs. I know there are exceptions, but you have to see the specific school guidelines.
Speaking of scholarships, did you apply for any scholarships? And if so, what was the process to do so?
Yeah, scholarships are definitely tough. I only applied to the pretty competitive ones. I think I actually only did 2. I did Coca-Cola Scholars. Did not really get past, but that one is very tough. And then I did another one that was an organization, but that one was also very tough. So I think it doesn't hurt to apply. I think you could just like put yourself out there, see what happens and just go with the flow. It might take some time to do that, but you won't lose anything. So I think like definitely like see what's worth it, but also like if there is a competitive one, it really doesn't hurt to try for that.
Yeah, that's great advice. And finally, looking back, is there any piece of advice you would give to high school students, both academically and socially, who are going through the college application process?
I think my biggest advice is don't let 3 years of hard work go to waste with bad essays, because there's so many students that are going to have like perfect SAT score, perfect ECs, they did all the work, they got all like awards that you need, and you look like a perfect candidate, and your essays are just not up to par. So I think really like, I know people don't want to spend time on their essays, but you kind of have to. Like, you don't want to be wasting those 3 years and just not giving the best essays you could. So that's advice that I wish I took, since I kind of started late in the process. And I feel like you don't need a sob story, but you just need to show the type of person you truly are and not to hold back. So yeah, I think essays are very important.
Yeah, that's great advice. Thank you, Katilyn, for doing this.
Yes, no problem.
Remember, the journey to college is unique for everyone, and exploring different majors and career paths can open up exciting new possibilities. Keep asking questions, stay curious, and don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to stay tuned for more inspiring stories from different college students and graduates. Until next time, this is Ashreya Siruvol signing off from Scholar Stories.